Thanks for sticking with us after the break, Rams. After taking a week off, the waiver wire returns after a bye week of its own. But hey, if you read my article from the Collegian, you wouldn't have missed anything. Just saying. I still had 3 players for you to pick up on your league's waiver wire. This week, like always, let's talk about 3 more guys that can help you finish top 4 in your league and get you into the playoffs. To start off tonight, Philadelphia Eagles' veteran running back Jordan Howard has been sneaky good recently in his second stint with the Philadelphia Eagles. And let me start this episode off. I have to apologize about Kenneth Gainwell. I had him on my waiver wire a few weeks ago, but he only had 2 carries last week. Boston Scott and Jordan Howard are the main guys going forward. Howard did have 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games, which is very great for fantasy value. He had 17.7 last week against the Lions and 13 fantasy points against the Los Angeles Chargers yesterday. He did put up 71 yards against the dismal Detroit Lions defense, but that was also splitting shares with Boston Scott. He also did put 57 yards against the Chargers, who have a sneaky good run defense, so it's really putting him more of an upward trend in fantasy. He also brings in 6 years of experience. I loved him with the Chicago Bears. He was a great running back. I was rooting for him as a 5th-round draft pick. He helped my fantasy team to a victory, or to a league victory, I should say, a few years ago, but he really just fell off the map, but I think he's finally coming back. He's only rostered in 8% of leagues, but I really expect that to skyrocket, especially with his last 2 performances. Right now, I have him as an RB2 against the Denver Broncos because you don't know what you're going to get with the Broncos. You don't know if you're going to let him rush for 2 yards or even 200 yards. But Howard is a great addition for your fantasy team moving forward. So let's move things to the passing game now. New York Jets rookie wide receiver Elijah Moore has finally arrived, with Thursday night against Indy acting as the rookie's coming out party. It didn't matter that Moore entered the game catching passes from Mike White or that he finished catching passes from Josh Johnson. He was cooking no matter who was passing him the ball. The 21-year-old admittedly racked up a lot of his production in garbage time, but the talent is definitely there when you watch him play. Moore's target total in 3 games since the Jets' bye week are 6, 6, and 8, giving him consistent fantasy volume. Against the Colts last week, he finished with 7 catches for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns. As of now, he's still a sleeper. He's only owned in 15% of leagues, but after this 27-point performance for the rookie, his rostership is bound to go through the roof, entering Week 10. And on to my final waiver wire addition for the week. Jacksonville Jaguars tight end Dan Arnold is a name not many of you have watched, but you really should start to. The Jags traded for the young tight end earlier this season, and it's clear that head coach Urban Meyer wants to continue utilizing him heavily in the pass game. In Week 9, in what was a massive upset for the Jags over the Bills, he led the team in targets with 7, catching 4 of them for a team-high 60 yards. And in 2 games since their Week 7 bye, Arnold has 12 catches on 17 targets for a solid 168 receiving yards. His next 2 matchups are admittedly tough ones, as Jacksonville takes on division rival Colts and the San Francisco 49ers, 2 of the top teams in the league when it comes to fantasy points allowed to tight ends. In Week 12, though, he gets a much more favorable matchup when he takes on the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, with how bad that defense in Atlanta is, basically anyone could go off on a given week. As you can see, Arnold is trending towards a low-end tight end 1 with the amount of volume he's seeing at the moment, but it might be worth to keep him on the bench for maybe a few more weeks, unless you really don't have a better option. I just wait to see with Arnold. And Rams, that's all the time I have for this week's edition of the Waiver Wire. If you want a few more options to strengthen your bench, check out my article on the Collegian, which comes out online every Wednesday. After the break, Madeline and I will finally be back on screen together for Hot or Not. You won't want to miss it.